the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over...
Huh. Well, interesting way to start the broadcast. But hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 5 of the Karts to Computers iRacing series. We come to you from Okayama International Speed Race Circuit. I don't know what the full track name is currently, but yeah, we are here for the halfway point of the 2020 first round of our season. So this is our 6th race of the season, actually. Hopefully, many of you were able to tune into our All-Star race just a few days ago. I believe it was on yeah, it was last Saturday. So, unfortunately, it posted to my personal channel, which is Marshall Crocker on YouTube. Unfortunately, due to a mistake with my stream key that I set before the race. So, unfortunately, that didn't go up on the proper channel. So, I'm sure a few of you probably missed it. But that is in our playlist on the series YouTube page. So, just go to playlist, go to 2020 season 1, and then the All Star race will be the last one there. It was a good race. It was pretty exciting. It was Charlotte Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Xfinity stock car, so the older version, just because we didn't want to have to make people purchase the new one for no reason. So it was a very solid race. Our winner was our, I believe, third different winner of our season. Michael Krobach won that, the NASCAR expert in his own free time. So it was, well, in a way, not surprising to see him be so successful, but I did actually get to run in that one myself. It was a live stream from my perspective, so I had a really fun time, and it was a good race. And Michael, the prize for Michael's win was he was able to pick the final track and car combination of our season, which this year does happen to be the Michigan International Speedway with the NASCAR Xfinity car we ran in that All Star race. So that'll be the older model. Multiple manufacturers are allowed, just like last time for our All Star race. So it should be good. It's an exciting one to look forward to. Michigan's an awesome track, and the NASCAR combination with it should be really fun. So looking forward to that. What else? So as we move forward in tonight's race, so that is looking to the past to our All Star race, but looking even further in the past, we skip back to last Thursday, our last official race of our 2020 Karts to Computers iRacing season, where we were at Lanier for our Lanier Dirt tournament. So it was a really fun race. I thought it was a little bit out of the ordinary. Our tournament format was certainly something different for how we've been running the races so far this season. And just like usual, we will head to our quick recap. And in round 4 of the Karts to Computers iRacing Series season, as I mentioned, we were at the Lanier Dirt track for the Quick Dirt tournament in the middle of our iRacing season. So Logan Paxson in our first heat, he was unable to move on to our feature race by a bye, but he did absolutely dominate at the beginning of this first heat. But early in this first heat, we had Sean Guerra and I believe Josh Gallagher that got involved in an incident. Really unfortunate for John. I know he was really competing with the top guys there. It's important to note that the fourth place spot in this race was the transfer spot. So battling for that transfer spot was Josh Gallagher, we just saw in an incident, and Frankie Esposito, the two of them going back and forth. That's Gallagher in the 96 and Esposito in the 13 on your screen. You see a slider pulled on by Esposito there. He's going to send Gallagher up a little bit. He's going to make the pass for the time being, but this was a very good battle for the first of our 2 heats here, and as we see Esposito make hard contact with the wall and bounce up there, Gallagher would make the pass, and well, after that, Mr. Paxa wouldn't look back, and he would take a dominant win in our first of 2 heats on the night, which meant he would start third for our feature race. After that, Jordan West was on pole for our second heat, him with Marco Fleece to his outside to start the race, and well, West was pretty quick at the beginning of this race all day, but well, Marshall Crocker and I believe that's Rich Foligno who got involved in an incident there. Crocker had damage from an earlier collision, I think, with Justin Lubick earlier in the race. So, well, in the end, Marshall would come out of that race with an unfortunate finish, but a good finish for Jordan West, who would win in a little bit closer fashion than Paxa, but he would move up to 4th in our feature for the night. But in that feature, Renee Hart on pole after running the quickest time in qualifying, he would start off with a very solid start here, and Well, it looked like he wouldn't need to look back for a little while as the insane battle behind him. You see how many guys there were just flying into the turn all at the same time, going four wide in some parts. But, well, you see here, definitely the biggest crash I've ever seen at a dirt oval track. You see Jordan West goes backwards and just absolutely gets mollywopped by Arnell to bang and it's sent end over end, flipping and flipping. But he came to rest, and I believe he did make it back out on the track, but certainly a few laps later. So Rene Hart would take the green flag again with, I believe that's a Logan Ferguson behind him, and well, to bang, I believe, got caught up in another incident here with Justin Lewick. Him and Lewick just got in the back corner panel of Lewick, and the two of them spun each other around and hit the end of that pit barrier, actually, or just barely missed it. So the two Logans, the two fan favorites, were battling it out very early in our feature race, but Paxa was able to pull off the slider and make the pass on Ferguson, and then a few laps later on lap 22, Paxa went for his first move on Hart. This is kind of a battle of the night here. These two were back and forth in the two very similar red and white cars, but Paxa would kind of slide Rene Hart up to the wall and in hopes that that would be the move that would get in the win. And, well, in the end, it looked like Hart was going to battle back as hard as he could, but eventually Paxa was just too quick to take it over. Now in the last lap, that's Rene Hart in the 7, Paxa right in front of him in the 16, and well, it was definitely a good battle in that last lap. It looked like Hart, if he was able to get the slider down, would be able to win it, but Paxa just hit his marks in that final lap, and well, he nailed it in order to get his third win of our season in our second different discipline that he won in. So we'll also quickly note this amazing celebration here where he rides the wall and does one of those those like cage stadium bike tracks where they ride around in circles. That was what we just watched, and well, you see there are final results. Paxa, Rene Hart getting his first podium of the season, and Krobach getting his second back-to-back podium of the season. So definitely had an effect on the point standings, which I will show you now coming out of our fourth round and into our fifth round at Okayama. You see Logan Paxa, still your points leader, with a very, very big lead on Michael Krobach for second. So 49 points, certainly a no small feat to try to make up that ground. But, well, Michael Krobach's a quick guy, and he's got momentum now after winning our All-Star race last week. So I think if there's anybody that can do it, it might be Mr. Krobach, and then Gallagher, McEachern, and Crosby, Clark, and Felice all in pretty close order there. Should be a good battle in the kind of upper midfield for positions third till maybe sixth or seventh this week. So it's been a tight series. It's been fun to watch, and I finally remembered to put the points up. So looks like some improvement today. It is just important to note before today's race, Arnelta Bang, you see there at the bottom of the standings. I know he missed a race or two there, and just said he didn't quite have enough time to make it out in practice for these. So unfortunately, he will be dropping out of the series at the moment. But well, as we look forward to our next season, starting currently unofficially on, I believe it is June 12th. Yeah. So June 12th, we will start season 2 of the Karts to Computers Iverson series. So about a month off now, but all the details for that are still getting figured out. The basis of what we're doing is we're going to have teams, which should be a pretty exciting new development. So hopefully that'll add some spice to the series and add a different kind of a different dynamic and angle on the point standings. So each team will be split up into two drivers made up of. It'll be decided on our end. The drivers would pick, but unfortunately, the differentiation in points in the standings would just be a little bit too much to try to have everybody pick their own teams. We just want to keep parity up and try to make it as interesting of a points battle as we can. So, well, as we come to the end of qualifying, I will give more information on Season 2 at the end of tonight's race, but for now, we got to hurry because I need to update the session ticker, but it is clear that we are about a minute away, actually 20 seconds away from the end of... should be it. There we go. So we're about 10 seconds away, actually, from the end of qualifying, so we'll get ready to put up your qualifying results, but well, it feels like I say this an awful lot, and I think it's because I do, but Logan Paxa will be tonight's pole sitter at Okayama International Raceway. So it is now official, so I can put up your qualifying results for tonight. Let's get those thrown up there. There we go. So, we have a little bit of chaos going on here. Let's just hide the time tower. There we go. Into the track map, too, for good measure. There we go. All figured out. So for tonight's running of the fifth round of the Karts to Computers Iverson series, Logan Paxa in the 16 car will take the pole for, I believe, the fourth time this season. Michael Krobach will start on the outside of row one. It is double file starts for the first lap, and then no cautions tonight, unfortunately. At least no official planned ones. If there's too many collisions, we will throw one just out of necessity, but those will be your front row drivers for tonight. Very close, actually, 22 thousandths. You don't see that often with road course qualifying for sure, but after that, Rene Hart and Samuel McEachern will round out the third and fourth position. Then Marco Felice, Justin Lewick will be on row 3. Devin Crosby and Brian Ellis on row 4. Marshall Crocker Sr. and Logan Ferguson in the 5th row. Rich Folino and Josh Gallagher in the 6th row. Jean Guerra and Jordan West in the 7th row. And I am not running in tonight's race. Unfortunately, they continue to put me on the graphics. But Manuel Guerrera, as you may notice, he is a new driver in our series tonight. Brother of Jean Guerra, fellow driver in the series. So he will be hopping onto our series at this point, and he will run, I believe, 6 races if he's able. And well, it should be good to have a new face here. We with Arnell dropping out and a few guys that have just unfortunately had to miss a few races. Well, it'll be good to kind of have a guy to round the field out again. And I know Manuel has quite a bit of iRacing experience from what I've heard, coming all the way from Portugal. So it's good to get some diversity in the series, at least in terms of where guys are driving out of. So that's exciting as we get ready to watch our pace lap for tonight's race. Let me just throw our. Da-da-da. Let's just hide this bad boy. There we go. So we will get everything set up and ready for the start of our race. So the 2-minute countdown is over, which I believe means we will start our pace lap. We will drive our first lap with Logan Paxa, who is tonight's pole sitter. Let me just get a good camera angle here. There we go. So as you see, they're not going to start from the entire start of the lap. No point in doing the entire pace lap. But some guys are flickering a little bit, trying to get caught up on their connectivity. So there we go. Everybody seems to have figured it out. As mentioned, we will go 2 wide for tonight's start. You see our track map up in the top right. Pretty distinct looking track, actually. I do like the shape of Okayama, at least in terms of design. Didn't get a chance to show our track lap, unfortunately. Just ran out of time a little bit, but maybe we'll throw that up if we have some time for a caution or anything, but unfortunately didn't get time to do that. So as they come into our final right-hander, Paxa will be the go man. It is up to him to accelerate whenever he pleases, and then Krobach will follow him after that. So Paxa may jump really early. He will indeed. And we will go green for round 5 of the Karts to Computers iRacing series at Okayama. Logan Paxa in that maroon and white car taking the field to the first corner. This first sweeping right-hander here, you see Paxa getting a pretty good jump on Michael Krobach behind him, but well, Krobach had almost identical pace in qualifying. Hopefully let's check back, but we shouldn't have any incidents in corner 1, which is good to see. So this race will be probably in function very similar to Laguna Seca, which means you should probably see quite a few minor incidents with guys kind of just running on their own and making little mistakes in terms of corner timing and brake timing. Shouldn't be as chaotic as Laguna Seca, but speaking of chaotic, let's look back in the field a little bit. Justin Lewick and Devin Crosby, somebody just got sent around behind. That's Devin Crosby in the Canadian Mini Indy car there. Let's see what just happened there, but well, you saw him in the background. It looks like he was, at least on my screen, he was battling with Justin Lewick at the time, so let's see what we can figure out from the replay here. So Crosby, Ellis, and I can't tell. I think that's Justin Lewick in the Monster Energy car there. So, well, it looks like Ellis just sent it in a little bit too quick underneath, and Crosby made contact with him there. So, luckily, only one car caught up in that, but Crosby was able to get going, which is good to see. So, let's check ahead to our leader, Logan Paxa. Let's see what he's doing. So, well, he's got about a second, almost a half gap to Mr. Krobach. So, not by any means a bad start, I would say, but well, behind him it is Michael Krobach, Rene Hart. After that, Samuel McEckert, Marco Felice, Justin Lewick. That top 6 has all remained the same. Brian Ellis and Marshall Crocker, as well as Logan Ferguson, have all moved up 1 position in the top 10. So Crosby's spin, an unfortunate incident there, will mean he drops 8 spots, and well, he'll move everybody ahead of him up a little bit. Manuel Guerrera has already moved up 4 spots in the opening lap, so you see kind of that front pack running there. I believe it's the front 8, perhaps. Brian Ellis is actually going to come into the pits. Let's just check on him quickly, but no doubt that unfortunate incident a moment ago. There he is, a little bit far away. Interesting camera angle there, iRacing. There we go. But yeah, that unfortunate incident, you see he has front left damage there. You see kind of the eyelash he's built over his front left light there. So no doubt the contact with Crosby will be the result of a pit stop. Actually, Crosby remained out on the track, so maybe the spin made it seem worse than it was for Mr. Crosby, but we see Logan Paxa got about a 1.7 tenths lead there, so very solid start for him. I feel like I'm constantly admiring the fact that he is in the lead, but now we're going to have a battle for the second position. Rene Hart, Michael Krobach. Rene Hart, as you saw in the race recap, he was a definite contender for the win there in that last round. He was about a half a second off. If only Pax had made a little bit of a mistake, maybe he would have had a chance. But actually, on my screen, it looks like Marshall Crocker's gotten himself in an incident here. Marshall Crocker Sr. He does. He does have major damage. Smoke coming out of the back of that car. Let's just quickly check on what happened there. Just as we wait for the battle to intensify for second. Let's just see what happened. Oh, there was a crash ahead. Marco Felice, and oh, he just comes out and clips him. That was a little bit early to jump on the gas there, coming out of a spin for Felice, but let's see what started all that. Actually, Justin Lewick, I think, is involved in that as well, or is that Jordan West? I know two guys at identical Monster Energy cars, but wow, he just gets loose and absolutely just takes out. Trying to tell that is Lewick. Doesn't Yeah, it was Lewick, but Lewick has actually gotten back up to speed on track rather quickly. So Marshall Crocker, unfortunately, will head out of a race, but we are appearing to have that same difficulty we've had for a while with our timing tower. So uh, we'll just pull that bad boy out of there for now. But Logan Paxa, I will do the rundown. So Paxa is still your leader. The timing appears to have briefly malfunctioned, but Logan Paxa does remain your race leader. We'll throw it back to Michael Krobach and Renee Hart running that second place battle. Krobach appears to have somewhat opened up that gap that he had a moment ago, but well, not exactly a huge gap between the two, as we see Renee Hart, for the most part, is well, you could say he's in a slipstream. The slipstream isn't huge with the MX-5s here at Okayama, but well, it should still be close enough that he can kind of follow his line and make little changes to try to catch up that way. So, well, we'll see if we're able to have a good battle come out of that. Then we have Samuel McEachern back there in fourth, has a huge gap behind him. Justin Lewick was involved in the incident earlier, so the fact that he's the next car behind McEachern means, well, he's got smooth sailing behind him, at least when it comes to maintaining that fourth position. And, well, McEachern's kind of been captain consistency all season, is what I've been calling him, because he is just doesn't seem to really make mistakes, and by far the fewest incidents of anybody in the series. So he is just a clean driver, and overall he finds this incredible way to manage to stay out of everything possible. So looks like McEachern is continuing with that tradition tonight, but after that, it's Justin Lewick with Jordan West in that orange and green car up the hill. Josh Gallagher, who's moved up 5 spots, actually, from 12th position all the way up to 7th. So good start for him so far. He's got his only win of the season on a oval, but, he had success in our All-Star race, and again, that was still an oval. But, the road courses, he's showing his talent here. At least tonight, he's starting to get some momentum and move up through the pack. Actually, a bunch of close drivers. Oh, we see that's Jordan West there. Just looks like he went for a little bit of a spin. Kind of got loose, but he does manage to regather his car, so he will slide into 8th position, which actually isn't too bad at all. So Gallagher, who I was just talking about, moves up to 6th, then Logan Ferguson in 7th, Jordan West in 8th, Manuel Guerrera making his debut in the series. Actually, West is going to pull off to the right side. Maybe he's got damage. Try to pull in a little closer in that battle. So yeah, West just running a little bit slow, which means Guerra, Crosby, and Felice will all go by him. So the top 10 looks like pretty spread out battle, but Jordan West, as long as he doesn't have car damage and he's just kind of getting a little bit loose on his own, then he should still have a chance to make up a few positions with how close that group is. Jean Guerra in the yellow car here in the 12th position. Rich Foligno running back there in 13th. I think he just got in an incident earlier, as well as Brian Ellis, I believe, should still be in the race. Yeah, just got his damage fixed. So, and finally, Marshall Crocker Sr. there in the other orange and green car appears to be back on track after incurring a little bit of damage earlier. So, hopefully he's got that figured out. But let's check back in the field. So, Krobach and Hart, I don't have my timing tower up yet. It should hopefully be fixed. It is not. I may need to reset the graphics entirely, but it would appear that they're starting to catch Logan a little bit. Looks like mildly closer than they were a second ago. So maybe we'll take our first quick break of the race here as I attempt to fix our graphics. Lap 4 of 45, so we're about a tenth of the way through round 5 of the Karts to Computers Iverson series. We will go on board with Michael Krobach, and I will be back in a moment. There we go. So we've got our timing tower back here. Just required a quick reset. So you see on the track map how spread out that top four is really from the rest of the field. Justin Lewick in the fifth position, kind of split from the fourth and sixth cars ahead and behind him. So he can kind of run on his own in the same position McEachern is in, and just kind of try to set consistent lap times. Maybe save tires if they can, as that may be an effective strategy going long term. It looks like the one driver that has disappeared from my timing is Manuel Guerra, sorry. I'm not sure where he went. He appeared to be on my timing stand prior to the race, but maybe our graphics are just going to have to catch up and figure out what's happening because Paxa hasn't moved up and neither is Krobach. So, well, as it resets here, we may have some stuff a little bit off. So hopefully that all fixes itself momentarily. But, well, the gap may be wrong there. The little graphic that tells you what the gap between drivers is as well. Oh, that is the wrong thing to get rid of. Throw that back up. There we go. Let's just take this guy out of there. There we go. So don't mind what was up there a moment ago. Your positions are currently as stands. I believe they are all correct, besides Manuel Guerra, who I guess he has indeed disappeared from the session, which is too bad for his debut. Hopefully, just I shouldn't say hopefully, but hopefully it is just technical difficulties and nothing more serious than that. So, well, Logan Paxa, still your race leader. Krobach's starting to close in a little bit. I noticed he's a little bit faster this time. But actually, we will throw up our lap time graphic. The first time I think I've used it all year. So we only have 2 laps to report on thus far, but no, actually the wrong 2 drivers for it to be showing here. There we go. So you see Paxa, he ran quicker, about 3/10 quicker on lap 4, but actually ran a tenth slower to Krobach on lap 5. So maybe Michael's starting to get some momentum going here. Back, let's check Krobach and Hart actually just to see there. So Krobach has started to open up that gap to Hart a little bit, about 5/10 in the last 2 laps. So he's got the momentum picking up a little bit. So first time we've been able to use that graphic, which is pretty cool. If we check beyond that, let's go back in the field a little bit. So McEachern, again, is running on his own. Lewick, much the same as you see on our track map. Josh Gallagher doesn't have anybody really in his immediate vicinity. Devin Crosby in that 7 car, a Lad Pedal Motorsports teammate of his, just a little bit back. So Crosby there in the 7th position. Then got a bit of a battle forming here. Marco Felice with Ferguson and West behind him. Let's actually just take a look at this from our chopper. There we go, the virtual chopper here at the Karts to Computers Iverson Series broadcast team. Logan Ferguson starting to chase down. That's Marco Felice in front of him in the, I believe it's a Family Guy themed car there. Jordan West behind, I believe, is the driver chasing down Ferguson. So that battle for, I guess, effectively 8th position between the 3 of them is starting to ramp up. So we will be sure to update you on if that intensifies in any way. We head back as Logan Paxa will pass the finish line for lap 7. A little bit longer of a race than usual. I know our All-Star race was decently long, but I think it was, our dirt tournament was actually a really short broadcast. We did miss one of our races that day, so the consolation race never happened, meaning it was a shorter broadcast than usual, but, well, it should be a tad bit longer today, which means it does effectively become kind of a race of endurance here. 2 pit stop race tonight, based on fuel load. I don't believe you'd be able to make it a 1-stopper or anything. You could run a 3-stopper for tires if you chose to, but from my experience here at Okayama, there's not really much point to do anything other than the traditional 2, so we'll see what guys try to do tonight. I know in our Charlotte Roval race in round 3 at the Skip Barber round of the season, I know guys were starting to run a little bit different pit strategies and everything like that, so could see the same thing become the case tonight. Pax is starting to open that gap up to Krobach a little bit more every time I check, so about 2.7 tenths behind. Actually, Krobach doesn't look like he's fallen back too much based on just the pure eye test, but he is starting to break away from Rene Hart, who, according to my graphics, has moved up 10 spots, but that's not true. So Rene's been quick all night. He seems like for a while I thought he was going to specifically specialize in ovals just based on how well he's run in the last few weeks. I know for our All-Star race, he finished 4th ahead of me in that NASCAR series car. So he definitely has talent at the ovals. His last week in the dirt, he was about about half a second away from beating Logan for the his first win of the season. So he's definitely got talent in the ovals, but he appears to be translating it over the road courses tonight. He may not be able to catch Krobach, at least not in the immediate near future, but he is running quick tonight. So good to see for Mr. Rene Hart. Then Samuel McEachern behind him. Again, captain consistency. You see on the track map, he's pretty much all by himself. Nobody really in his really anywhere near him right now. So following that, Justin Lewick in the 5th position, who must just be the camera angle. I thought he was slowing down a little bit there, but doesn't appear. Actually, he does appear to be noticeably off the pace. At least on the track map, he's dropping majorly per corner. Looks like he's starting to pick it up now, but gotta wonder if he just got wide coming out of that last turn there and just lost some speed in terms of momentum for our front stretch. So Josh Gallagher, a little ways behind him, about 7 seconds back of Lewick. Devin Crosby running just behind Gallagher, actually starting to catch him a little bit. We'll throw up our lap graphic once again, but if you remember seeing that incident at the start of a race between, oh, that is the wrong drivers once again, between Crosby and, I'm trying to remember who he got involved with there, but well, if you see Gallagher and Crosby actually catching up majorly lap by lap, 1.6 tenths last time by, which is just massive. So either our timing information is wrong, or he really just has been that quick these last few laps. So no doubt if he catches up, then you'd imagine Crosby would be able to make the pass there. At least based on his speed before. He's going to dive to the inside. Maybe we'll see a pass happening here, but looks like just a little bit too far back unless Gallagher gives it up, which will go way wide. Maybe he's trying to let him by. Looks like he might. Yeah, pretty sportsmanlike move there. Looks like Gallagher didn't want to have any qualms with him or try to mess with him in any way to try to, well, mess up his own race, really indirectly. So it appears that he'll just kind of let him by there. And, well, Crosby, after that incident earlier, that looked like it might completely take him out of the race, at least for the time being, because with faster pairs, he would, of course, be able to come back. Each driver gets 2 tonight, but well, it looks like that didn't need to be the case, and he is flying back up through the field. Definitely our biggest mover in the last kind of 5 laps, so Devin Crosby back up to 6th, and it doesn't look like any major battles after that. Jordan West with Logan Ferguson somewhere in the background, but Marco Felice has actually gone around once again. West is able to avoid him this time, but that's going to be a very interesting battle here as Ferguson closes in on him. And actually, I believe that's Jean Guerra. No, sorry. Not Jean Guerra, but well, that battle behind him is definitely forming up quick. And, well, Felice is going to try to dive to the inside of West here, maybe get his position back after that spin. But the second time, Felice has had issues in that exact same corner, so hopefully that isn't a start of a pattern the rest of the race. Is, yeah, that exact same spot seems to be giving him trouble, but he'll fly by West this time, so Felice will get the position back. After that, Ferguson's going to make a huge move. Way late on the brakes. West is popping in and out, but it looked like a big move a moment ago. You see Jean Guerra in the yellow in the back and that car behind, so is this Marshall Crocker in the battle with him? It is, yeah, and the 55s are trying to chase these guys down, hopefully avoiding the chaos unfolding before him, but let's check up ahead a little bit. So Crosby doesn't appear to be massively breaking away from Gallagher, but he does certainly have the position. So Crosby will try to chase down Justin Lewick in the 5th position to join the top 5. Paxton and Krobach. Actually, Krobach still doesn't appear to be dropping back too quick. I mean, 3.5 seconds at a road course this long as Okayama can be absolutely huge. So depending on pit strategy and when their in and out laps are, that could definitely be a race changer for sure between really the top 3 drivers, because Rene Hart with maybe 6.5 seconds, that's really not that far back. You'll see just how close the 3 really are for lap 10 of such a long track. So here we go to about the maybe 18% mark of our race. No, that's just wrong. 23%, somewhere in there. So yeah, we're again, it's a little bit longer of a race than usual, but that does add an interesting dynamic to it as we see just how tired some guys can get in that kind of lethargy towards each and every lap by the end of our race. Maybe that'll start getting some guys off the pace and creating some interesting battles. But let's check on Marco Felice, because we saw his spin a moment ago with Jordan West falling in right behind him, who originally gained the position, but Felice just appears to have more of a consistent pace ahead of West, at least in the rest of the corners in the track. So both guys going to run a little bit wide. West gets in the dirt, actually. You see the dirt kicked up from his car back there, and it would appear Logan Ferguson is actually out of the race currently. Hopefully that's just temporary, but he does appear to have dropped out. So our second retirement of the night after Jean Guerra, or sorry, I should say Manuel Guerra. The brother of Jean Guerra actually dropped out earlier tonight. Hard to tell if he was, how long he ran. My graphics don't seem to have information on him, so unfortunate for that. But Guerra a little ways back. That's Jean Guerra. There is appearing to have a more successful race. There is Manuel Guerra. It appears he's in the pits, exiting the pits now. So 5 laps down, and so he must run a few laps at the beginning, but Gotta wonder what happened there. We see Felino and Brian Ellis actually the only major on-track battle we see besides Felice and West, of course, and battling for 11th. But that could still be an important bonus point by the end of the race, especially if some incidents ahead of them were to happen, and then get positions that could be helpful for championship points, which, as we showed you earlier, are, at least with that upper midfield, are really anybody's game from like 2nd to 7th position. So a lot of the positions midfield could be up for grabs, but Jordan West, Marco Felice, where is Marco? Sorry, there he is. Just kind of hiding on my screen there for a minute, but Felice, it looked like him and West got close there for a second, but West and actually Marshall Crocker Sr. is in a tight group there with Jordan West. They appear to be running almost identical lap times. Crosby looked like he was going to pit there, but looked like it was just his line coming into the corner. So no more pit stops, or no current pit stops, other than unfortunate ones for damage. Actually, we see Logan Ferguson coming out of the pits now, so good to know that it was just temporary, maybe for, I wouldn't have thought just for normal tires and fuel, because that was a very long stop for somebody without damage or actual issues on their end that forced them out of the race. So hopefully we can get up to speed and try to make up some positions again. Again, no cautions, so that wouldn't be a method that guys could bunch themselves up with. Let's check back with Logan Paxa. It's been a few laps here since we checked in with our leader. He's starting to open the gap up to Michael Krobach, but speaking of gaps opening and closing, we will throw up our fancy smancy lap time graphic here. There we go. So Hart actually was dropping consistently about just under 2/10 every lap, but he made up almost 6/10 in that last lap. So starting to drift back a little bit there, but you got to wonder. Well, like Krobach didn't even run necessarily a bad lap. Oh, sorry, he did run a full second slower than the rest of his laps, at least in this current part of the stint. So, well, I guess Rene Hart was just able to capitalize on that. Not sure where Krobach would have made the mistake, but we see Jordan West coming into the pits. We see, it appears he's, I don't know what iRacing's doing, but it appears every time guys go into the pits, I completely lose their camera feed. So you'll just have to trust me on this one when I say that that Jordan West has headed into the pits and will give up his, I believe, his 9th position to Jean Guerra. So when he comes out, he should rejoin around 11th or 12th position in that battle between Brian Ellis and Rich Foligno there. So hopefully that is indeed the case. And again, he's not another guy that's just out of this race permanently. I wouldn't, even with a quick repair, it shouldn't take him quite that long. So I wouldn't say it's an incident or anything if I had to guess, but I'm just looking for little battles to look at here throughout the field. So unfortunately, I mentioned our pre-race track lap that I'll throw up there if I have the time. It looks like you've effectively seen most of the track, so there's not really much point in doing that, at least for the moment. So maybe in a few laps time, we'll throw the reins over to Logan Paxa, and he can do an on cockpit view of the entire track, and we will get a look at what the drivers are dealing with here at Okayama. Because overall, I think it's not, I would say, one of the most unique iRacing road course tracks for sure. I would definitely say that's more likely Laguna Seca, if I had to pick one, that we ran a few weeks ago. That's definitely one of the most unique tracks you'll ever go to. It's kind of designed like a roller coaster. I mean, even aside from the famous corkscrew, there's just so many difficult sections to that track. But here at Okayama, you don't really have that exact same feel. To me, it feels more like kind of a shrunken F1 track in a way, where it's very simple corners in a lot of spots. It reminds me of kind of the Hungarian F1 track, just kind of shrunk down. But it's pretty simple in its design. No crazy terrain or anything, or no super difficult corners. But actually, maybe we'll ride on board with Paxa this time around, and well, of course, I'll look out for any incidents that happen to go on track. But let's just follow in the chase view here with Logan Paxa. So yeah, we'll cross the line coming up here for lap 13. But well, you see the very dense tree foliage in the background. This track is kind of situated out in the woods a little bit. Okayama, of course, being in Japan, so very beautiful scenery. The hills are actually really interesting spots for grandstands. The design of this overall venue is really, really interesting. You see Paxa coming out of there, that quick right and quick left, kind of a sloped version of not a hairpin, a bus stop. No, that's not it. What am I? Chicane. There we go. Whoops. And then a slow sweeping corner there, kind of the two half corners as we come up into this actual hairpin. This is a long uphill sweeper. This can be absolutely brutal on tires for sure. I know you could kind of hear it if I had the track volume up loud enough on Pax's car there, but he absolutely shredded through the tires coming up that hill. So no wonder guys' lap times are starting to decrease so quickly. As we see Paxa coming up here to the braking point, so it brakes a little bit late, but This is our yet another hairpin. Actually, Okayama, even if you look on the track map, they love their hairpins and those kind of perfectly 180-degree corners. You kind of get a good view of the first two corners there in the background. Paxa comes through the first of our two identical left-handers down this hill. And he will begin to reclimb it with two more. Guess what? Two more hairpins. Definitely the hairpin capital of the world here at Okayama International Speedway. But you see him come through the first of our two hairpins, kind of the left-hander here, and then the identical right-hander after that. So coming up this hill, kind of the only roller coaster-like section, kind of a different version of the corkscrew from Laguna Seca. Actually, once we finish this lap, Krobach and Hart actually appear to be extending their lap, or not their lap, their battle a little bit. Down to 7/10 now. The gap actually shrinking rather quickly. So we'll come around here with Logan Paxa and then move back to Michael Krobach and Rene Hart. So Hart's catching up to him quick. Let's throw up the lap track graphic again, but yeah, it looks like Hart is starting to catch up to him lap by lap. Made up a full 8/10, or almost 9/10 there in that 2 laps ago. So he'll do it again, 8/10 again. Rene Hart definitely starting to catch him really quick. The gap there starting to shrink massively. In the last 4 laps, Hart's run quicker. So gotta wonder if Krobach just shredded through his tires too quick, or if Hart is starting to catch on as he goes and gets more and more experience here. So I will quickly take a break as we see if this does indeed escalate. Hart's trying to just chase down his draft and see if he can make a move happen here, no doubt. But let me just go to the YouTube chat. I have yet to pull it up yet. Sorry if you hear a dog barking in the background. It's a new location, so other location is much quieter dog, but unfortunately this house does not. So yeah, Hart's actually within about 5/10. He could try to make a pass here. Maybe we'll throw it to, once again, to our chopper here with Rene Hart and see if he can make the pass happen. Because it's really close there through the hairpin. And as we come down to that second left-hander, see if he's able to make a move there. Let me just check the comments. So I agree with Aqua Serene's comment. The first one I read is that Pax's domination in the series has been nuts. He has been an absolute force for all of the races. It feels like no matter what discipline we go to, he's running really, really quick. But, you know, at least in our All-Star race and a few of our practices, there are guys that can definitely kind of try, or at least try to equal his pace. On some of our different tracks that don't happen to be in his wheelhouse. I know most of them do, at least today. I mean, Pax has been kind of the class of the field once again, but he doesn't exactly appear to be destroying any of the drivers in terms of pace. At least nobody in the top, maybe top 4. Actually, McEachran's starting to drop back, so maybe not. But I don't know. I think that if the right track comes up and if we get a good bit of momentum for one of our drivers, then, well, we could see that championship battle start to reform here. But at least in the current season of the Karts to Computers Racing Series, Logan Paxa does appear to be our workhorse champion of sorts that just comes out every week and, well, wins where he can. And now he's won an oval. No, he won at Roval, which is like kind of a crossover. So kind of a he's won at a half road course, a dedicated road course when he won at Laguna Seca, and he won at a dirt oval last week. So the only track type that appears to have eluded him so far is we see Ferguson coming to the pits. But the only track type that appears to have eluded him so far is pure ovals. I mean, he came second in the Indy 300 in round 1 of our series, but I mean, even then, a win is, or a second place is, well, almost as good of a win if you get the proper bonus points. And if you remember that week he did, and he came out as our points leader after the first week. So yeah, definitely a very talented guy, and well, he's doing his absolute best to maintain his lead, at least putting up the practice times and talking to plenty of the guys that he knows in the series and trying to coordinate stuff. So. Well, I'm very fascinated to see if we get to some more tracks that might be in somebody else's forte. We see Rene Hart go a little bit too wide there and start to drop the gap back a little bit to Michael Krobach. But yeah, I'm adamant that I think if we were to get the right conditions and the right track, and well, as we go to Phoenix in a few weeks, I know we go to Spa on Saturday, and well, some of the guys like Michael who are more so oval oriented are definitely putting in a lot of time on Spa just because it's such a fun and iconic track in the racing business. So. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the season and seeing what happens there and seeing if that championship battle can close up a little bit. Speaking of battles that are closing up, once again, Rene starts to, after we see him drop back a little bit there, going a little bit too wide, he's starting to catch up once again and make up time as he starts to catch up to Michael Krobach. So, just looking at the chat again. So, there we go. We got variety for some of our drivers. We got some Justin fans in here. I know he was nice enough to put out a Instagram message or an Instagram shout out on the channel tonight. So big shout out to him for doing that. It's always good to see more people stopping by for our broadcast. 16 tonight, which is pretty good turnout, especially for this early in a race. So again, we're glad to have all the fans here. Whether it's you're just watching for a driver, or maybe you happen to stumble by it on YouTube. We're pretty passionate about putting together races for these guys. That again, as the titular name of the series would suggest, the Karts the Peters Iverson series, all about taking drivers that would normally be running in karts this time of the year, and we're putting them in a racing series where they can do their thing, just maybe not in the traditional format they would have liked. But I know a few guys that are saying they kind of like the iRacing kind of culture and how they base their lives around it better than they would racing in the actual karting series in real life. So it's good to see that this series has struck a chord with the drivers, and I'm really glad because I love running it. I kind of dipped my toe in actually running in it last week in the All Star race, which was so much fun, and I really wish I could make a point of coming out here and running just as if I didn't have to commentate. But as I love commentating and I love driving, it's kind of agonizing to not be able to do both. But I did really like the stream we ran for the All Star race. Sorry, I'm talking, but hopefully this battle here is able to either progress, and we're going to start seeing some green flag pit stops here on lap 16. But yeah, I did really enjoy the All Star race format there, kind of more so the live stream format rather than the traditional broadcast like this. So it was a little bit sloppy in parts for sure. I realized how, first of all, how hard it was to stay hydrated through both talking and racing the entire time. But in addition to that, there were just parts where, well, I really needed to focus, and I felt like I hadn't quite mastered the balance between live streaming and broadcasting and the differences between the two. But I had a really fun time, and hopefully everybody that watched and stopped by had a good time watching and seeing a bit of a different winner for once. Michael Krobach did come away with the win there, and maybe seeing an insight into my driving style and making my debut, which I thought was a really good time. I came fifth. I have yet to mention it, but it was a good time. I put in plenty of practice for it, and it seemed to have paid off. But if there was one thing that was made clear to me, it was that you can't really underestimate just how much practice some of these guys put in. I know guys in preparation, when they found out pretty late that the All Star race was happening at all, um, they just like slaved away at Charlotte trying to get as much practice as they can, and they were doing plenty of their own laps on their own time, and it paid off. I think it was a pretty entertaining race. It was a close finish, but I believe it was Krobach, Gallagher, Crosby were your top three. So all three buddies who are teammates. You may hear Michael in some of his interviews mention Loud Pedal Motorsports. They're kind of a bigger iRacing conglomerate that is made up of a bunch of guys. So they go to major iRacing races throughout the year. And so they all know each other as a background from that, but they also kart together, hence why they are running in our series here. So as we move forward to teams, they are of course limited to two. So unfortunately, they will not be able to keep all three head pedal guys all together in one team like usual. But I think that team dynamic should add something new to the series, and it'll be kind of similar to F1 in a way, just based on color schemes, and all the numbers will be coordinating. So team numbers will be kind of like a 2 and a 3 or a 4 and a 5. So it'll be easier to tell teams apart. And you see our kind of colors on our timing tower next to the driver names. So like, for example, Paxton, Krobach, and Hart all have white. Kecker and Pink will look purple. Those will all be matched, so all the teams will have very similarly colored cars, so you'll be able to tell them apart. And I think it'll be really exciting. It'll be interesting to see how people kind of team up and maybe form relationships that you wouldn't otherwise expect to add a new layer to our point standings. So I was going to go away and take a brief break, but Krobach and Hart actually seem to have rekindled their battle from a moment ago as they come up towards, I think that's Rich Foligno up there in that light blue car up ahead. But we see Hart trying to catch up to Krobach. He's only 2 tenths down. He may be able to make a move here as we go into the hairpin. This long sweeper. Krobach actually enters in a little bit wide, so if he's able to get on the gas quick enough, then this may be the corner Hart's able to do something. He's already looking to the inside, so Hart's just got to sit behind and maybe chuck it in there on the inside and see what he can do. He's moved up through the points massively in the last few weeks, so Rene Hart kind of going through a renaissance period in his season. Krobach's going to leave the inside. Hart's going to back out, and he's not going to try the move there. Actually, Krobach's going to dive to the outside a little bit. Hart's going to go underneath. Might go side by side into this left-hander here. They won't. Krobach will gap him just a little bit there, and Hart will back out. But this is the closest Rene Hart has been all race to Michael Krobach. Actually, he gets a better exit there once again. I kind of theorized about it earlier as Foligno's going to let both of them by, but I theorized that the tires were starting to go in Krobach's car, hence where this pace for Rene Hart came from. We'll throw up the timing graphic quickly one more time. There we are there. But, oh, they have completely disappeared from... Oh, my goodness. That was one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen. Okay, I don't know what just happened there. But let's check the battle once again, see if that's opened up a little bit. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what just happened there. But so Renee Hart, as we see him come across the line here for lap 18. Yeah, it should update in a moment from now. But 7 tenths for Hart up on Krobach there. Just barely quicker that time by. So they appear to be going back and forth, trading blows in terms of quick lap times. And Rich Foligno does not appear to be coming out of the pits. I don't know what's happened in terms of the timing, because Foligno is showing up as 5th on my screen, but I know he is indeed not there. He's been letting guys by slowly just because I think either he has damage or he had an earlier pit stop for an incident, which I believe he did. This battle here is still intensifying between Krobach and Hart. Hart dropped off a moment ago. Actually, got a better run out of the exit of the corner there, so that long sweeper appears to be favoring Hart in this point of the race. So Hart's going to dive to the inside. Let's just pull this graphic down here. But he's going to go to the inside. He's not going to decommit. So will Krobach let him by? Hart will make the move for 2nd place. He's going to slow down hard. There you go. He will make the corner. So Rene Hart, pretty smooth move there. Doesn't make contact or anything with... Oh, goodness. It's just that camera angle that the graphics are not happy with. But he will make the pass there. So Rene Hart moves up to 2nd. This is a very similar finish to last week's race, where I believe it was Paxa, Hart, and Krobach just like this. So very familiar top 3. Actually, McEachern, I believe, finished pretty well last week as well. So maybe this is actually the top 4 from our last race. And well, now it's Hart's job to try to break away and extend that now 6 tenths, almost 7 tenths gap back to Krobach. But Logan Pax, I believe he is pitting this time by. If my graphics aren't lying to me, he is. So Logan Paxel will be your first down pit road. Will Hart and Krobach pit with him? I don't believe they intend to, so they will go by. And Rene Hart goes from 3rd place a moment ago to now your temporary race leader. Paxel no doubt pitting a little bit earlier than these guys. I know Krobach tends to, at least in my experience racing against him on road courses, he appears to draw out his pit stops a little bit. So at least in terms of when he does them. Actually, McEachern will come in as well in that 4th position, which means... Goodness, I guess Lulick would move up, but Lulick has appeared to have pitted as well. So Devin Crosby, if he comes around, will move up to 3rd, which, again, it's provisional because, of course, guys are going to start coming back out of the pits. Paxa should be exiting pit road momentarily, but should see him on the left-hand side in a second. No, it appears to have not quite left yet. Maybe it's longer pit stops than I anticipated here, but yeah, Crosby, after his earlier incident, he's dropped off my screen, but after his earlier incident, to move all the way back up to 3rd, even if it's provisional, is pretty impressive. Again, we had a bit of a graphics glitch here. Not sure what that's about, but Paxa will finally exit pit road. So about, let's try to, I don't know what is happening with him right now. About 50 seconds back of the position in front of him. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little while since we had a complete glitch like this. So there we go. Everybody's back. This is an issue I've had in the past and something I'm sure I will be able to fix going forward. But Paxa, as I mentioned, about a 50 tenths or 50 seconds back to the leaders now after that pit stop. So we will see if Rene Hart and Michael Krobach, when they go onto their pit cycle and do their in and out lap, if they are able to make up or extend their lead as they have it right now to Mr. Paxa. So Hart will take the hard right-hander to come in. And as I foretold a moment ago, again, we have the same issue coming up. But Krobach, again, with his later pit stops, now claiming everybody is out of the race. There we go. Really got to figure out what's happening here. Let's just check. I just want to make sure the stream stays stable with all these issues. Huh. This is a internet problem on my end, so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully the broadcast is not glitching out too bad on your end. I have a quick message from YouTube that it's getting a little bit upset, so hopefully everything is okay right now. I will head back to the race feed as I try to figure out what's going on here. Michael Krobach, I mentioned, didn't pit a moment ago. This is absolutely crashing. There we go. Whatever issue I had a moment ago appears to have fixed itself. No, it hasn't. Okay, we are going to take a brief break because if these glitch out one more time, I'm going to cry. Yeah, so we'll throw on board with Michael Krobach for the time being. If it glitches out, I may just put up a temporary slide, but I will take a break, try to fix the issues on my end, and we will be right back with race 5 of the Karts to Computers iRacing series.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And finally, we appear to be back. Everything is going to slowly return online, but sorry about that. It appears to be an issue. Honestly, not sure. YouTube appears to be not loving the stream quality, or at least the output it's being sent. So hopefully that stops being the case momentarily. A few of you have mentioned, or I saw in the chat, somebody had mentioned the video quality looking a little bit better. I did make a few changes, as well as the frame rate should be a little bit higher for you. I thought I could get the video to run in 1080p. Unfortunately, I cannot. So we are slowly getting back on board here, but you'll notice that our timing stand has changed a little bit here. Logan Paxa regains your race lead, and well, the only thing that kind of surprises me about that timing tower at the moment is the gap between. Oh, Pax's car is gonna briefly. There we go. But the gap formed back between himself, Rene Hart, and Michael Krobach, that top three, because well, that gap is much wider than before the pit stint happened. So you'd think on the tire strategy that Hart and Krobach would start to catch them, but unfortunately, I can't do the same timing graphic I had before until all this stuff updates to make sure that we get enough laps that it's accurate. But looking at the big picture as we wait for our official time to come in, Brian Ellis appears to have entered the pits. He's now 3 laps down. I believe he must have gotten in an incident while I was gone because, well, that is a much bigger gap to climb than he had before. I think he was only a lap down, if that, a moment ago, but now all the way down to 12th. So, unfortunate luck for Mr. Brian Ellis, who he's had some successful runs. I think last week he was in our feature race, so he had a good run in round 4. So hopefully round 5 hopefully he's at least able to get back out here and um, make up some positions if some guys in front of him start to crash. So if we look at the top 10, the only two drivers that are still active in the race that aren't in that top 10 are Manuel Guerra and Logan Ferguson. Ellis as well, but I think he must have outstanding damage issues because he is running a little bit further back than I would have expected. At least now, he still doesn't appear to have exited the pits. So even 12th position, though. Can't complain with that too much for him. So we'll do a quick run through the field now that we had our issues hopefully figured out for the race. It is important to note, actually, we'll see if the timing graphic is updated. It is. So actually, Rene Hart, since Paxa exited the pits, has well, slowly started to catch him, or Hart, I should say, after he took his pit stop. Paxa may have passed him for position, but well, those new tires may be helping Hart here as he ran a full 5 tenths quicker on his first lap back. Now only about a tenth and a half on that last lap, but it should update here momentarily. Hmm. I guess Hart has yet to have his time updated. Let's see there. Wow, 8 tenths once again. So 9.5 second gap back to Hart from Paxa. So Rene Hart, this race may not be over for him. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from him in terms of race pace right now. So Marshall Crocker Sr. will head into the pits in 10th position. Doesn't look like he'll get passed by Ferguson if he's quick, but there's a chance he would drop back to 11th, but he should only need one more pit stop after that. So I don't think, based on the pit stints I was seeing, anybody that pits now would be able to go to the end of the race. So I think if you were able to make about 23 laps on fuel in that first stint, and then pit, you'd be fine, but I don't think there was a chance anybody did that because that is a very long end fuel here at Okayama. Still doesn't appear to have updated the gap either between drivers to see how much they've moved up. So unfortunately, the graphics are just being all sorts of weird tonight, but interestingly enough, so we'll follow along with Rene Hart because he's up a full tenth, or sorry, a full second from the last time I mentioned him on the timing tower because he is just flying up towards Logan Paxa in that first position. And well, Rene Hart, a guy that, despite his solid performance last week, I shouldn't even say solid, he was really quick, but yeah, unfortunately, just wasn't able to come away with the win there. And well, I know he's again been putting in plenty of practice. Early season, he tended to have a little bit of struggle. The Indy 300 in round 1, I think he got in an incident early and then just couldn't really capitalize on our second or third rounds really. But well, he's kind of come into his own these last 2 races, and well, now as Paxa starts to extend his gap out a little bit, unfortunately for Mr. Rene Hart, he will still be a definite factor in this race. And if anything were to happen to Paxa, whether it be a lap car, just a mistake on his own, maybe a mistake in the pits, Rene Hart's kind of in the catbird seat there as he once again drops back a little bit. I'll have to throw up our timing lap tracker again there. So we have yet to see an update. There we go. So still 3 tenths from Hart. So maybe it's just certain sections of the track he's better at than others because Rene will start to catch up a little bit again now. I know he was down to like 8.4 seconds of a gap back to Paxa a moment ago, but that gap has jumped back up to about 9.2 again. So that could just be certain sections of the track he's particularly good with, which I wouldn't be surprised if it were the case because very different sectors here. I mean, that uphill hairpin section is a lot more about braking timing and throttle control. And well, it's that first section there. You see the high-speed turns up kind of the nose of the Or if you think of it kind of as a telescope, the head of the telescope in that top left of the track map, that section there with a lot of little quick kinks in the straightaways, that can just be better for guys that are willing to attack the apexes more and are more willing to hit the curbs a little harder than others. So could be anything really, but looks like Hart actually won't catch up too much this time. So maybe that advantage that he had to Paxa a moment ago will start to even out. We look back a little bit. So Samuel McEachern, who thought he had damage there for a moment, but he doesn't appear to. McEachern, kind of the most consistent driver in this entire race so far, doesn't really appear to be catching in front of him, but doesn't really appear to be giving up ground to Devin Crosby behind him. Fourth position. He started it, and I think it was, what was it, 3 straight thirds? Oh, he's actually gone around. Interesting time to pull up to him because right as I started talking about how he never makes mistakes, McEachern with kind of an off-brand mistake there, just must have came in a little bit too quick, tried to get the back end around to save it, and sent it around a little bit too hard, and he completely went around there and starting to give up groom to Crosby. I think he dropped about 10 seconds because of that incident. Maybe not quite that much, but well, an unfortunate moment there for McEachern, who will maintain his fourth place position, but got to make sure nothing wonky went on with the tires there because of that spin. I mean, he'll have grass on him, but he should have gotten him off by now. Yeah. I mean, hopefully that doesn't have disastrous implications for the rest of the race for him. Actually, Devin Crosby appears to have not only caught McEachern that lap, but he's starting to catch the leaders too. So many moving parts at play here. I wish I had like ooh, actually. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is a little bit something new. We see the last lap times by. So the last time the lap time they set there will show up on the screen. So it would appear McEachern, you see him running about 10 seconds slower than everybody else. It appears that he did indeed lose quite a bit of time there because of his incident, but it isn't going to be enough to, at least for the time being, allow Crosby to catch up and take that fourth position from him. So good news for Samuel McEachern fans out there. But you see that top three appear to have run very similar laps, that being Paxa, Hart, and Krobach, but Hart, even if it is a smaller margin, still running quicker laps than Paxa, at least for the time being. So looking back a little bit in the field, actually Logan Ferguson is running laps quicker than you'd expect for somebody in 10th. So must have just been an earlier incident or maybe a pit stop that went a little bit too long. Unfortunately, it does appear Brian Ellis is still in the pits. So either he's out of quick repairs and he's doing an actual repair that will take like 20 minutes, or he is unfortunately out of this race and it just hasn't updated quite yet. So looks like Rich Foligno and Jordan West are only two drivers who will not finish tonight's race. Brian Ellis is kind of on the bubble. We'll see any updates from that, and hopefully he can return to the race right now. Manuel Guerra, we were talking about him a little bit before. He did manage to make it out to the race and actually start to get on the track and run some laps. So definitely good news for him. But Michael Krobach, actually, what a lap from him. A 148 and 891 compared to the two guys in front of him. That'll be absolutely huge in terms of his catching up to that top two there. Maybe we'll jump on board with Mr. Krobach there. You see in the background there, that's Rene Hart in the white and red car. I think Jean Guerra is running in front of those two. He is indeed. So throw to a bit of a different view here. We'll try to chase down Rene Hart in our chase view with Michael Krobach here. So you see last time by, again, as I mentioned, he set a second and 2 seconds, respectively, a lap quicker than Paxa and Hart ahead of him. So starting to catch Hart, maybe because Hart had lap traffic issues with Jean Guerra, but Guerra appears to have let him by pretty clean a moment ago, so I wouldn't have thought he'd be battling too hard, and that would be why. Kind of interesting to see why this gap is starting to open up the way it has. But speaking of gaps, Hart is still catching up to Paxa, unless my timing graphics are off, but now down below 7 seconds in terms of a gap. Not sure if Pax is just on older tires, which I mean, indeed he is, but I wouldn't have thought it would matter quite this much at this point of a stint. Very good job moving out of the way there for Guerra. That was the perfect line for Krobach to have to not get involved with him in any way. But Rene Hart starting to catch up just below 7 seconds. It goes back above now, but kind of floating around in that middle groove. As I mentioned before, this is kind of the part of the track where he did seem to have more pure race pace, and then he would kind of drop off in that first sector, which is why the laps were a little bit closer than the timing tower would sometimes see to appear to show. Let's go on board with Hart here for a moment. Just checking on him a little bit. Let's also, actually, maybe I'll head to Logan Paxa for the moment and throw up our lap time graphic to see if there's any major things of note here. So Hart, you see even there, wow, like what a comeback. He's making up 1.4 seconds on that last lap. So you got to think there's something wrong with Pax's tires. I mean, the race pace he had in qualifying and at the beginning of tonight's race, like he wouldn't be running a lap quite that slow at this point in the race if it weren't for a tire issue. So Renee Hart, actually, that's a massively quick lap time this late in the race. I mean, a 1:48.7 that would have qualified him like fifth in qualifying, and he is on what lap like 15 of a tire stint. So props to Renee Hart. He is giving it his all right now, and you can see it in the lap times because yeah, I mean, 8 tenths, 3 tenths, about half a tenth, 9.5 tenths, and then one almost a second and a half per lap. That'll add up. So if Paxa doesn't come in soon, he may temporarily give the lead up to Hart for the moment. But I mean, you saw just how quick that early pit stop, or how much of a gap that early pit stop put from Paxa to the two guys behind him. So he's able to pull off similar shenanigans in the pits and get that gap opened up a little bit more. And I mean, if this pace continues to stabilize itself for Renee Hart, we may actually see a battle for the finish, which would unfortunately be the first time this year in a road course race we've had. I mean, we came kind of close in our Charlotte Roval race, but unfortunately, Matt Clark, who was in the battle at that point in that race, was the one who kind of got sent around there and was unable to battle for the finish. Actually, I hadn't really noticed till now, but Matt Clark hasn't been able to make it out for tonight's race, so unfortunate for him. We do have our drop races still, so I don't believe he's missed a race thus far, but he has definitely been succeeding well in our points, so be a shame to see him drop out entirely. We'll get an update on the lap times that lap by for lap 29. Pax comes across. Let's see Renee Hart's time. So about 2.5 tenths there. So less extreme than a moment ago. Actually, Pax is going to go real wide in that corner. So it must just be either tires or maybe he's trying to do something different with his line in order to conserve, and it's just not working. But well, we're going to drop below 6 tenths here. As you got to think Renee Hart at this point notices he's starting to catch him. As well, I'd imagine in Pax's view, he's kind of in his peripheral. You'll see as Pax comes up the hill in the background there. You'll see Hart in the left of your screen diving up the hill there. So even visibly, you can see that gap starting to shrink. And well, with no other major battles on track, maybe we'll throw to on board with Renee Hart for a brief break once again. Should be the last one of the race tonight. Yeah, based on the time, it shouldn't be too much longer. So we will throw to Renee Hart on board. You will still have the timing tower in the background to see if that gap is able to shrink. It is, even as I'm talking. So we'll throw to Renee Hart, see what he can do, and I will come back, maybe with a battle for either first or second on the horizon. And after what should be our last break of the race, I was just quickly checking the YouTube chat, and sorry, David Pax asked a moment ago if there was a battle between Justin Lulick and Marco Felice. I didn't catch it a few minutes ago, but we can check the aftermath and see if a significant gap has opened up there. I believe Lulick was already ahead prior to the pit stint, so Felice has been slowly dropping back lap by lap the last few, so I must have missed it a little while ago, but maybe it was just pit exits that forced that battle. But I don't believe that'll transpire too much differently in the next few laps, unless we see kind of a similar situation where our leader Logan Paxson Lewis starts to drop off because of tire wear. But I will definitely check if that is the case going forward. It's tough with unless I check the track map. Some of these gaps once you lose the decimals, at least in terms of seconds. I know like 119 and 123 that could, at least in some of our closer battles, that could be a lot bigger than it sounds. So we'll try to keep an eye out for that. Actually, Renee Hart finally runs a lap slower than Logan Pax at that time by. So interesting to see that gap is starting to open itself up once again. And well, I guess Paxa must have just passed Josh Gallagher a moment ago, who is a lap down in 8th position. Because yeah, this is the first time we've seen that gap start to get a little bit bigger, right? As I start to play to the idea that Renee Hart could catch him in this pit cycle, he starts to drift back. But interesting to note, this is the longest I think anybody has gone on tires. Logan Paxa has, at least at the moment. I think he was lap 15 the first time he came in, and then he's presumably going to pit. I mean, you'd think right now. I would think logically, if I were going to do this in terms of tire wear, I would just split it into even 15s, go at 15, lap 30, and then you're good for the rest of the race. But I mean, maybe he's trying to save his tires for this last stint, let Hart catch him a little bit, and then know with full confidence that he has the tires to battle later in the race. But well, he's starting to open the gap up a little bit more, so maybe that isn't the case as I thought. But Logan Pax, as he comes around up the top of the hairpin, you see Hart just entering the bottom. Actually, let's check on Michael Krobach, who has kind of been consistently just under about 3 seconds back to Hart ahead of him. And, well, he doesn't appear to be closing that gap up too quick. Let's actually check Hart's timing information just to see if he's had Krobach on his tail the last few. No, they appear to have run pretty similar laps the last few. Krobach ran a quick lap 27, but then kind of threw it away on lap 28 and gave it back to Hart. And then the last few, they've just kind of been trading back and forth. So, no, you wouldn't think that battle will escalate, at least for the moment. Hart, even the last time by, you can see that Paxa ran his quickest to the race for sure, or at least in this current part of the stint. The first time in the 148s in a little while for him. So, yeah, definitely Pax is starting to pick it up and move up our field tonight. But Samuel McEachern coming into the pits, the first of our kind of top 5 there to start making a run down pit road there, maybe for strategy purposes, if he wants to. I wouldn't think make a move on Michael Krobach, but if he's trying to do kind of the undercut and maybe coming for tires, extend his gap to Crosby, that could be the case. If he wants to maintain that 4th position that he has been pretty famous for these last few races, he is kind of the captain of consistency with any position in that 3rd to 5th range. It feels like he's never outside of that top 5 there. Actually, last week in the All-Star race, I can't remember, but I think it was the first time all season he hasn't run in that top 5. No, I think he had like 1/6 or 7th somewhere, but I think probably Roval, if I had to guess. I can't quite remember, but the point being, McEachern always runs very consistently, and the way he's running right now, he's just running kind of solid early 150 laps that shouldn't put him too far out of his current position, at least not when he returns to the track. So good to see from McEachern. He continues to kind of continue his tradition of very solid, consistent races that aren't too offensive in terms of his lap times or his race style, or at least how he hits apexes. I know some guys, at least in like this turn, for example, that we just went through that final corner onto the front stretch, they can run a little wide and get into the grass and the gravel there. So doesn't appear to be the case, at least not right now. But Logan Pax is extending his gap to Renee Hart, as you saw him in the background of the white and red. And well, it's the thing you want to see if you're one of our many Logan Paxa fans is I checked the chat and they appear to have shown their support once again. So it's good to see. I mean, a few drivers I haven't seen in the last few weeks are starting to get some good support. So hopefully everybody's inviting people out to come watch. And Samuel McEachern, as you see, 3-minute laps there if you come into the pits. So I was thinking it was like a 50-second pit cycle earlier in the race, but McEachern running an entire second and a 10, or wow, what am I saying? A minute and 10 seconds off the normal in-lap pace. So, gotta wonder what happened there. Maybe he had more damage than the other drivers on track, and he just had to come in to repair that. But that top 3, I'm actually amazed with how similar their paces have been, such that all 3 are within 10 seconds of each other. Because then you see the drop back to Crosby, who's about 40 seconds back, and I know McEachern was sitting at about 40 before he pitted. 50 for Crosby. Just kind of stumbling over my words here a little bit, but hard about 6.5 tenths back, or what am I saying? 6.5 seconds back. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But um, yeah, that gap is starting to open itself up a little bit more. And again, you got to wonder if maybe that was a tires thing, but I wouldn't think that with Pax's tires still as old as they were, maybe it just hits a plateau at some point where, they can only get so much worse before at a certain point it just stops mattering. And if that is indeed the case, then Pax has hit his perfect sweet spot here in terms of strategy. They still don't come into pit, which, at least from my perspective, kind of blows my mind. Or maybe I'm just missing something. But Gallagher will dive out to the right side to let Rene Hart by, and after that, we'll check on Justin Lulick and Marco Felice there back a little bit, because very wide exit to the sweeper there for Lulick. But Felice and that Family Guy car coming around. We saw him in a bit of an incident earlier with, trying to remember who that was. Oh no, he spun around and then got into Marshall Crocker Sr. A few laps before, a few laps after our start. So, speaking of Marshall Crocker, actually running really consistent lap times in the 150s right now. It's good to see, because I know he's been putting in lots of time on some of these tracks, and that earlier incident would definitely kind of put the kibosh in his plans for even a top 5 today. But it's good to see him running consistent lap times and running in that top 10 with a few guys dropping out. I know Rich Felino and Jordan West weren't like crazy high in the points, but Brian Ellis, who's also effectively done for tonight's race, appears, I guess he's still watching the session, hence why he hasn't been shown as kicked out yet. But I should say, sorry, normally out. We don't do like permanent penalties or anything, at least not in this point in the season. So I will take a brief moment. Actually, I'll do what I used to do quite a bit more. But as we see Logan Paxa with, that is okay. That's Devin Crosby. Sorry, I got really worried for a minute. I thought that Rene Hart had magically caught up way more than he had. But let me just mention, sorry, our plans for next season. So if anybody, sorry, I just checked the chat. If anybody has any questions about season 2 going forward, feel free to let me know, because I'm kind of the guy that's been trying to put everything together and get all the plans finite for next month. The season does start, as I mentioned at the beginning of the race, on June 12th, so about a month from now. Our final race of the season at Michigan in the NASCAR series, the Xfinity Legacy cars, will be, man, now I'm trying to remember my schedule. I think it's May 29th, so about 22 days. So we're going to run the final 5 races in that span. No more special one-off unofficial events. The All-Star race was our only one of the season, so from now on it'll just be pure official racing until the 29th, and then we're going to take a 2-week break. We will have an untelevised, for those of you who are watching the broadcast who are in the series, we're going to have an untelevised test race for round 1 of the season to get all the new team liveries tested out, all the new teams coordinated, so that everybody's getting to know each other and that we have all that dynamic figured out. But yeah, we have our test race a week from the Friday that ends our season. So Friday, May 29th, and then Friday, I think June 5th is our test race. And then a week later on June 12th, on that Friday, will be the start of our season. It'll be Talladega in the current NASCAR Cup Series cars. So we started off this season with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with the Indy cars, and we figured, well, we gave Indy Karts representation for its major start of the season event. We were talking about Daytona, but I think the old Daytona iRacing provides, they updated a lot of their tracks a few years, or maybe not a few years ago. I think they do them every once in a while, but they have like really old legacy versions of the tracks from like 2008 that function if you need them. If you just kind of want to run a layout that maybe hasn't made too many changes in the last few years, you're like, okay, well, why would I fork up the money for the new one when the old one's effectively the same? So I wanted to start off with a big super speedway race for round 1 of next season, just because, I mean, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of drafting dynamics, and like the same way the Daytona 500, it's a super fun NASCAR race to watch. I think it'll be a very fun race to watch for our fans. In terms of driver numbers, I know tonight we only had 15 actively participating drivers, and a few of them left early, but the goal is to try to recruit up to the point where we have 24 drivers for next season's grid, that being 12 teams of 2. Which for the super speedways would be the first time we've seen any sort of pack racing that big all year. Which is the goal. And if anybody out here is watching and they're a frequent kart racing driver, and maybe they've thought about joining the series for a while, or maybe Justin's link sent them here and they have interest from coming to their karting series to run in our iRacing series, and they're willing to make a commitment to Friday and Sunday nights. I know we've been doing Thursday and Saturday so far this season, but we're just going to shift it a little bit, so that way you guys don't have to take time out of your work nights to come watch. And Everybody can kind of prepare more for the weekend. That way they have a little bit more time and they can not necessarily need to stay up for work in order to race with us. So that's the dream, and it should be a really good second season of the Karts to Computers Iverson series. We're definitely gonna kind of up the production value. I'd say I'm gonna update all the graphics. Everything is gonna, well, maybe not all of them, but the presentation is gonna look a little bit more polished for sure. The team dynamic should add something new to it, so guys are gonna be more involved. We're gonna do more in cockpit interviews, so like on cautions and ovals and stuff. We're gonna be talking to the guys and make it feel like more of a full-fledged experience. We're gonna start the broadcast a little bit earlier before the races. That way, I have time to work on all my pre-race stuff. Because even today, I had the track lap. I had a few things prepared, so it'll just feel like a more full-fledged, all angles broadcast, which is kind of the dream, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody enjoys. And yeah, if anybody wants to recruit and join the new series, I am Marshall WT or Marshall underscore WT on Instagram. I don't even remember my own Instagram handle, but yeah, Marshall underscore WT on Instagram. Feel free to send me a message and kind of apply that way, and then we can get it all figured out. It'll be an extended season, so 15 races till first week of August, I believe it ends. So it'll be an extended version of this year's. So the points should matter more long term. We're going to update the points standings. That way we don't. No offense to Mr. Paxa, but he kind of broke my point system just because of how much he's been dominating early in the season. As we see him go off track, they're a little bit kind of tire in the dirt there. Quickly, just to hop back into the race, we'll bring up the lap timing graphic, but he has opened up his gap to about 9 seconds from the last time I checked in on him. So I talked about that plateau where the tires might, even though there is a difference between Paxa and Hart in terms of the length of their tires, or at least how long they've had them, but they appear to have kind of plateaued, and that gap doesn't seem to be mattering anymore because, well, 6 tenths, 7 tenths, and then a full almost second and a quarter there ahead of Hart was Paxa in terms of his lap times the last few. So gotta give props to Logan Paxa. The thing he's succeeded at all year is in terms of just his endurance and his durability, and doesn't really seem to make mistakes often. So and even when he does, I mean, he did it in the Indy 300 and he did it at the Roval, where he got involved in an incident on the first few laps and just managed to fight his way back. And he came up to second and won, and he won the other one at Roval. So he's got a 3-race streak going into this one. And, well, we'll see if we can either get a third winner of the season in either Rene Hart or Michael Krobach, or if Paxa is indeed able to finish off his 4-race kind of dynasty he's got going and maybe try to make it an even 5 at Spa on Saturday. So we will check back in the field very briefly. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. No point in going to an entire break, but there we go. Yeah, let's go through the field momentarily. So we see Rene Hart with Devin Crosby in the background there in a very similarly colored car. Hart, as I mentioned, is starting to drop back lap by lap there to Paxa in front of him. Crosby, the Lad Pedal Motorsports teammate of Michael Krobach, is going to let him by on the the outside here. So Krobach still not really slipping back too far. Actually, I think he's closed the gap in a little bit to Rene Hart, down to about just over 2 seconds from about 3.5 a few laps ago. So good to see that we may have a pretty interesting battle there, even if Paxa doesn't end up coming into pit, which would blow my mind, because I believe this would only be a one-stopper for him, unless I missed a stop under our brief technical interference bit there. So hopefully that is not the case. Maybe in the post-race interviews we'll get an explanation for that. Devin Crosby running in fourth with Justin Lewick not too far behind. Actually, Lewick with a bit of a bobble coming into this corner. Goes real wide coming out of the second half of that 2-part sweeper there. So hopefully he didn't have too much of an incident there. Because, I mean, Justin Lewick, as I've been talking to him all year, he's a super, super nice guy and very passionate about the series. And he's starting to get his performances really clean these last few races. I mean, he ran quick at Laguna Seca, our only other dedicated road course track of the year, and well, he's running just as quick here, up top 5. I mean, that's nothing to complain about at all, especially not seeing how quick that top 3 is. So to come out of the race with the 5th position, it's really solid for sure. Felice, who's had a kind of an up and down day as well. 2 separate spins there on his part, and running a little bit off the pace at the moment. But he's a guy that, well, he may not be quite as consistent as Samuel McEachern behind him, but he is quick when he is in his zone. He's kind of the willpower of our series. So Samuel McEachern coming out of that 2-part hairpin here in 7th position. He must have just taken an extra pit stop off of everybody, because even if some guys did pit while I was gone, he doesn't appear to be catching up mighty quick to the guys in front of him. And I really got to wonder what happened with McEachern there. Maybe he did pit with everybody else earlier and he had damage or something that made his pit stop a little longer. So Still not running the quickest laps here, so unfortunate for McEachern, and I may need to talk to him after the race to see what happened there. But Josh Gallagher in the background, who is actually, well, I thought he was running quicker and catching up to him there, but last lap by, Gallagher did run about 4 tenths slower, so they kind of put the kibosh on that storyline there. But so Jean Guerra running in ninth. This would be his first, I think, top 10 of the season, so good on him if he's able to see this through and get that first top 10 of the season, which would probably move him up in the points pretty decently. Speaking of first top 10s, I believe this would be Marshall Crocker's first top 10 of the season. He did finish, I think, 7th or 8th in our All-Star race, so best performance of the season there, but it's good to see a good performance out of my dad. I know, again, he's been putting in a lot of hard work onto some of these tracks, and I'm sure he took good advantage of the Okayama race being a little bit later than was expected, so good performance at the All-Star race, and he's had a pretty good performance tonight, so first top 10 of the season, nothing to complain about for sure. After that, it's just Logan Ferguson and Manuel Guerra left. Manuel Guerra, who's making his debut tonight. I'll just throw to him very quickly. But Guerra, who's making his debut in the series tonight. So good to see he's not only has he got a very dope livery, but yeah, it's good to see him translating over well to our series. And doesn't seem to be having connectivity issues. Whoa, that was intense. Doesn't seem to be having connectivity issues, which is a thing that I worried about a little bit. Seeing as he was coming in from Portugal. So I was like, oh, well, maybe his internet might mess up a little bit more than others. But it's good to see he's running crystal smooth. And yeah, I mean, just running really quick lap times right now. He's going to be a good guy and let Crosby by on the outside there. So I'm really glad to have him in our series. And I hope to see him. Maybe an interview wouldn't go great because I do not speak Spanish. But I'm sure we could get something figured out. So, well, hopefully he finishes in the top 3 or top 5 before too long. And well, once he has a race without maybe technical issues or whatever kept him in the pits for 5 laps there, well, hopefully he'll have it all figured out. So we will head back to Logan Paxa. Very interesting, the timing tower since I've been gone. Rene Hart's gap dropped down to like 6.7 seconds, and now it's all the way back up to 9.3. So not really sure what's happening there. The tire wear is something that's absolutely boggled my mind, if that is indeed what the difference is between these guys the last few laps. So definitely have a lot of questions to ask in the interview in terms of this timing gap we're seeing, but thanks, David, in the chat. That is indeed my Instagram handle. So, did my very best to get it right. And you'd think with 8 letters or however, it's probably 10, but you'd think with how short it is, I'd be able to nail it. But no, unfortunately not. Let's check a little bit further back in the field. Everybody seems to have gapped out, which tends to be kind of the unfortunately, the new normal here at these dedicated road courses, because it's the same thing as Laguna Seca. I mean, guys kind of get in their own groove, and whoa, Justin Luke's going to go way wide. I was talking about how he's running a very consistent race for 5th, so hopefully he's able to gather his tires up and finish the race clean. But Logan Paxa, he's about to cross the line here for the start of lap 42, so you'd think, based on how he's running, he's not going to come into the pits again, because I don't see any point in a trip down pit road this late in the race. So, well, absolute bombshell of a race dropped here by Logan Paxa. I mean, I was thinking in practice that when he was running very comparable lap times to guys like Michael Krobach, and I'm trying to remember who started 3rd, but he was running comparable lap times to a lot of guys. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this could be our first time that we see a really good battle between the top 3 in an official road course race this year. But right as I thought that was the case, I mean, no shade to Hart or Krobach. I mean, they've been running really quick all day, but yeah, unfortunately, I just don't know what it's going to take to beat Logan at some of these road courses. It just seems like he gets the practice in, he nails all his marks, and well, I gotta say I don't know what it'll take, at least on these road courses, to stop him. As we move forward, Spa on Saturday, which I talked about, will be a highly competitive race just based on how much people have been practicing for it. But after that, I believe, let me just check the schedule here momentarily. Let me check what round 7 is after that. It's kind of our throwback night for the series. So we are going to the 2008 rendition of Phoenix. Remember, I talked about the legacy tracks earlier in the race where there's like older versions that they haven't updated, but like, why would they? Because they're not different. Phoenix actually has. It's become, I think it's, oh gosh, what's it called? I don't know. They renamed the name of the Phoenix facility to something else, and they moved the starting line for no discernible reason. So not really sure why that's the case, but maybe a premonition from David Pax in the chat. He says this isn't over. Maybe if he knows some inside information on Logan, we could be seeing a pit stop momentarily, which if it is the case, would be very interesting. Oh, he is going to dive into the pits, so there we go. This is not over by any means. Pax is going to come into the pits. Crosby comes in. Felice comes in. Gallagher comes in. Oh my goodness. Wow, I chose the wrong time to dive away and look at something else. But Pax is coming into the pits, so Rene Hart will take the provisional lead. And what Rene Hart, I was just talking about a moment ago, is his stellar race there in the last round of the All-Star race. And well, now thanks to Pax's pit timing, he will take the lead of the race with 3 to go. The question is, can he get 3 laps done with, well, less than ideal amount of fuel, I'm sure. But well, if Paxa did indeed come in without like off schedule from the rest of the guys, this would be an absolutely crazy finish because, well, he would drop back, but I know Krobach has started to extend his gap too, so I don't think he'd be involved with Lewick, so maybe the timing wouldn't be quite what I thought it would, but actually Paxa came out really quick. He's already out with only 21 seconds back. I don't know what the pit timing is tonight. I guess because he would have taken a decreased amount of fuel, but oh, when I say I am so confused right now in terms of how the timing works, that would absolutely... Oh, I don't even know what to say. I was just asking the chat, does Krobach have fuel? That is a very solid question. Let me just check our pit timing graphic. I believe it should work. So, stint like 42 laps from both Hart and Krobach, which doesn't sound... Oh, never mind. Don't listen to that. When the timing reset, I guess the pit stops would have reset as well. So I guess the graphic doesn't really know. But, man, I mean, this is... this is a little bit confusing here because Pax came in a few laps early. He pitted, I think, lap what, like 15 of the race? So I thought he was just going to do a traditional one more stop and then out, but he must have run a really long last stint to get the tires he has, but he's not even necessarily catching up all too quick compared to what you'd think with new tires, compared to at least what I was, to my understanding, between Hart and Krobach. So Rene Hart will come around the final corner for the second to last time if he's able to do it on fuel. So if he's going to pit, he's going to have to do it on the very last lap of the race, which would be absolutely heartbreaking to see. But, you know, I'm kind of getting shades of round 1 of our season with the Indy 300 where, I mean, what am I saying? When Logan Pax was in a very similar position. I mean, he was leading the race at that point with McEachern right behind him. He came in for fuel with very few to go, which allowed Gallagher on a alternative pit strategy to win the race. So Pax is starting to catch up quick to the guys in front of him, but well, at least for position's sake, he probably won't make any positions up unless we do see a pit stop from either Hart or Krobach. Maybe this will light a fire under Michael Krobach as well, because now that he knows that this battle is no longer... Oh, Hart. Okay, the timing tower is being weird. It looks like they were dropping off like a tenth a second. They still are. Krobach is catching them quick. Actually, I'm going to use a graphic I don't use often. Let's start the dashboard just to look at the. We'll compare the speed between Hart and the guys behind him. So Hart, as he comes up to the breaking point, is going about 160. Let's check Michael Krobach. He's going like 180 coming up to that breaking point. So Rene Hart, I think he's running out of fuel, which would be my guess. That would be an absolutely insane rush to throw into this race. And if that is the case, and Krobach has enough to make it to the finish, we could see one of the greatest finishes we've had all year. Hart, you got to think if he gets up to speed, he should get up to like 140. No, he is absolutely running off the pace here. So it'll be 3.5 tenths. Now it's interesting because if he is doing this intentionally, he hasn't yet run out, but he's trying to conserve. Well, Michael made up about 3 seconds there. So if he can repeat this pace one more lap and try to battle Michael for that winning position, he may be able to finish this race. Is he going to come in this time by? No, he's going to commit. So Rene Hart thinks he can conserve fuel long enough to win this thing. And, well, let's check on Michael Krobach. You can even see he's about 35 miles per hour quicker on just every straightaway than Hart at this point. So, I mean, it's got to be a strategy thing. You'd think Pax is starting to catch up real quick from before. So white flag here. Hart will come across for the final time, and man, this will be an interesting battle for the lead to see Paxa there coming out of the final turn. So if both Hart and Krobach run out, then Paxa would be tonight's winner. Hart's trying to extend his gap more than he was earlier. We'll throw it into the rear view so we can see Krobach in the background. But my goodness, David was right indeed. He just said Hart has to pit, and I mean, I would have thought the exact same thing because his time that he's running right now is horrible. But if he's able to conserve right now, this would be one of the greatest fuel conservation wins I've ever seen in iRacing. Like, this is an impressive showcase from him, and Krobach's starting to drop back. You got to wonder if he's in a similar position. It would just look at the timing tower and Pax's gap right now. Like, when he gets on a straightaway and you can tell his either his new tires or his extra gas is um starting to pay off and starting to catch up to the guys in front of him, it is absolutely huge to see. Like it can be like 2 to 3 seconds on a straightaway right now, but again, it's not going to matter unless these two guys in front of him run out of fuel. And Krobach's starting to catch Hart once again. Actually, Devin Crosby in a lap car is catching Hart as well. So got to wonder if Hart will just let him by or if Crosby will try to sit in the middle and play peacemaker between the two. But Crosby's a teammate of Krobach. So coming up to the top of this hill, this will be interesting to see if he can make it up this hill and not start coasting. He will be tonight's winner. This is fascinating. One of the most interesting fuel wins I've ever seen if he's able to do it. He's going to take that right-hander into the second to last turn of the race. Krobach isn't catching him quick enough, neither is Paxa, so he's not going to run out. Rene Hart, as he comes around the final corner, doesn't look like he's going to run out. Rene Hart, we have our third different race winner of the season, provided he doesn't run out right now. He doesn't indeed. He's starting to celebrate. Rene Hart wins round 5 of the Karts to Computers iRacing Series season in one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen on fuel. Wow. Pax has started to catch up quick there. Pax is, just dipped under 10 seconds there. So Logan Pax will come around there for third position. Man, that's heartbreaking to see because I believe his first third position of the year. But I even mentioned it a few minutes ago. Like the Indy 300 was almost an exact copy of this, where just unfortunate fuel timing and kind of pit strategy that was a little off kilter from everybody else meant he wasn't able to get the win. And Justin Lewick, Crosby must have pitted at some point because Lewick moved up to 4th and McEachern moves up to a top 5 again. So McEachern keeps the streak alive. 5th position for him. Lewick appears to, I guess, just not have quite finished the lap yet. But, well, Rene Hart, congratulations, absolutely, because, man, just what a consistent performance from him. He was catching Logan at some points during the race, and then he was losing him for a bit. But when push came to shove and Logan unfortunately had to come in for a pit stop with just a few laps too little fuel, well, that was all Rene Hart needed. It doesn't look like anybody's going to follow Hart, so are we going to see donuts or something? Or are we just going to... Oh, we're getting... He's kind of got like the lowrider thing going where he's pumping the... I don't know what is happening here. This is... There we go. We're going to see donuts. There we go. I get... any IndyCar fans, I'm getting shades of Alexander Rossi at Mid-Ohio last year, so... There you go. Good good mini celebration there for Rene Hart. I mean, it's tough at road courses for sure, but... Well, that is a lot to unpack in those last few laps. I mean, well, I had kind of written off Mr. Paxa there, but getting some congratulations in the chat. So props to Logan. I mean, he probably led like what 46 of tonight's 50 lap or no, 41 of tonight's 45 laps. He was just once again he was like the class of the field when it came to pure race pace, but had a very similar situation to our first race this season. He just when push came to shove in terms of fuel conservation, he just couldn't make it work. And or Rene Hart manages to stay out, loses his gap to Krobach a little bit, but Rene Hart gets his first win of the season, and kind of that momentum-based run up the standings continues. Is well, absolute again. Props to Rene Hart because man, this has been an impressive last few races for him. And well, now I'm thinking if there's anybody in this entire series that could give Mr. Paxa a run for his money in terms of that lead, if he's able to make this continue, and maybe Paxa has a stretch of bad races, well, it is Mr. Rene Hart. So let's throw up your standings for tonight. There we go. Well, first of all, Rene Hart, as I just said, your winner in tonight's midpoint of the 10 race Karts to Computers iRacing Series Season 1. Absolutely props to our third race winner of the season. I was mentioning that Logan Paxa looked like he was going to get that would have been his 4th race in a row that he was going to kind of form a dynasty there. But no, unfortunately, fuel strategy once again just kind of put the kibosh on those chances. So Rene Hart will be tonight's winner, Michael Krobach. I haven't really talked about him enough, but man, he was just quick all day as well. He ran on the outside row in qualifying, came 22 thousandths away from being your pole sitter, which unfortunately doesn't mean bonus points, but it does mean he was an absolute factor in today's race and was kind of in the catbird seat there if Rene Hart ran out and he didn't. So props to Michael Krobach. I believe that's his 3rd straight podium as well. So as you see Manuel Guerra there in the background heading into the pits. And then after that, Logan Paxa. Again, he was kind of the main talking point of the day, but well, unfortunately, he'll have to settle for a top 3. But I mean, a podium position still means he gets interviewed and still means he gets very valuable points going forward this season. So props to Mr. Paxa. After that, Justin Luke, Samuel McEachern, rounding out your top 5. Good finish for both guys. Both very consistent races today and didn't seem to make too many mistakes that I watched, which meant that, well, Lewis stayed on the lead lap, and I think McEachern just went down there because of a longer pit stop at some point for some reason. Not sure why that ended up happening, but after that, Devin Crosby, Marco Felice, Sean Guerra, Marshall Crocker Sr. with his first top 10 of the season, and Logan Ferguson running in his first road course of our season, I believe. So props to all of those in the top 10. Then after that, Josh Gallagher and Manuel Guerra, both 6 laps down because of, I think, either damage or I don't think it would have been technical difficulties. So still, props to both gentlemen. Thank you everybody for coming out that ran tonight, for watching the broadcast. And then Brian Ellis, Rich Folino, and Jordan West rounding out your 15 driver lineup for tonight. Once again, I did not run. One of these days, I'll figure out how to remove myself from that graphic. But well, for the time being, we are going to have to head to our interviews here. Let's just check if everybody's in the booth. They are. I am already in the booth with Mr. Logan Paxa. So let me just get them all figured out here. And there we go. Okay, Logan, you got me?
Yep.
Well, first of all, I mean, you were kind of our biggest talking point of the race. It was an absolutely stellar performance from you. Yet another pole in the season. I think it was your fourth, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but well, just kind of walk us through the last few laps. I mean, your fuel strategy seems similar enough to the guys behind you that I thought if you had to pit, they would too, um, or vice versa, where nobody would have to pit and you'd come out the winner. But kind of what happened there, and what was your fuel strategy throughout the race, and what did you notice that you think led you to unfortunately not win tonight's race?
So what happened is that after the first stint, it turned out that I had pitted one lap before Renee and Michael. So they had one more lap of fuel in their tank. So as the race went on, we found out that I wouldn't actually be able to make it to the end unless I pit for one lap of fuel. So I was really hoping that the one lap difference between me and Michael and Renee wouldn't be so big, so that they would also have to pit. But it turns out I think that they fuel saved, and I think that that allowed them to be able to finish the race without a pit stop, which is why I wasn't able to hold on to the lead.
Yeah, I mean, even just by the eye test, I mean, Renee Hart was he was conserving hard. He was like coasting into corners about 20 miles per hour below the traditional speed. So it was definitely an interesting race to watch in terms of fuel. I think it was our first fuel conservation race since, well, the first one of our season that I kept comparing tonight's to. So well, first of all, just want to walk us through the track. I haven't really talked about much kind of the track layout and the track conditions compared to the other ones we've run, but how does Okayama compare to like Laguna Seca, the only other major road course we've run this season, and just what were the differences in tonight's race compared to your experience thus far?
Um, they're actually quite similar tracks in elevation change, just the overall tire wear. So it wasn't a huge adjustment from Laguna, apart from the difficulty of the corners. I think that obviously the corkscrew standing out as one of the most difficult corners on that track. Um, I don't think there was much of a difference between the two tracks. Fuel was pretty much the same, one stop. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in my strategy, so yeah.
Well, it was pretty commonly agreed upon pre-race that it was going to be 2 stops, so I was surprised when guys started going as long as they would on fuel, and just a really impressive race overall. Like, don't be down on yourself. I mean, a top three is still, in terms of points, is going to be absolutely helpful for you. I know Renee Hart was, I think he was sitting ninth in points before tonight's race, so it'll be a huge race for him. But in terms of a threat to your championship lead, it will not be. So, going forward, what's kind of your strategy in terms of the big picture championship? I mean, we go to Spa on Saturday, and then we go to the Legacy Phoenix race for our kind of throwback night in the IndyCar a week today. So, what's kind of your plan going forward? Do you think from this point on you're going to try to look for those same victories you've been so apt at getting thus far, or do you think it's time to kind of look big picture and look at your championship standings as a whole and just try to maybe not coast, but get a little more conservative? So what's the plan going forward?
I think that the plan going forward is consistent results, as consistent as I can make them, not making mistakes, trying my best to be as consistent as possible, really. But obviously, I'm going to go for those wins. I'm not going to, back out because maybe the fight will end up in a crash. I always go for a fight. I never back down from a fight when I'm in racing, and I think I'm going to continue to do that.
Well, that is truly the driver's mentality, isn't it? So, well, it's good to hear that. It's always exciting to have you in the battle for the lead, which seems to be kind of the repetitive case thus far this season because, man, you've been quick. But, well, first of all, congratulations again on another top three. I think you're, what is it, fourth? Well, it's your fifth podium of the season. You haven't not finished on the podium once. So, well, we're doing a lot of these interviews. But to come to the end of this one, is there anybody you want to thank or give a quick shout out to before we move on to Michael Krobach?
I want to thank my family again. Huge support from them, and I really want to thank you again for making this possible. Season 2, I can't wait for that. So yeah, just thank you, man. Really.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again for coming out and making these so exciting. And yeah, speaking of season two, I'm really looking forward to having you and seeing how that team's championship can maybe even up the parity a little bit in terms of our championship points. But well, yeah, congratulations tonight, Logan, and hopefully you have a good rest of your night. And look forward to seeing you at Spa on Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You have a good night, Marshall.
Okay, as we move on. Oh, whoops. Okay, sorry. As we move on to our second interview of the night, with our second place position finisher, Michael Grobach. Let's throw to him. There he is. Oh, whoops. I appear to have switched rooms. Oh. Let's just pull. There he is. So, hey, Michael, how's it going?
Hey, Marshall, pretty good.
You got to be feeling pretty happy after that. It looked like for the longest time that you were kind of a shoe in for the third position, but well, when Paxa came in with just one lap too little fuel and he came in for that surprise pit stop, well, that was all it took for you to get the second place position and almost the lead when that battle between you and Renee Hart started to ramp up. So, coming into the last few, like what was going through your head when you saw Paxa pit, and did you think you had quite the pace to catch up to Hart and try to win this thing?
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be a two-stop race. Fully thought that. But then our strategist Devin just calling the shots from behind the wheel there. He said that when the car refuels, it puts in more fuel than it does to start the race, and so that just put us on the good side. And I ran out crossing the finish line, even with fuel save at the end. So I came in for my pit stop 2 laps after Logan, so I had a feeling that he might run out of gas unless he pulled out a miracle like he did at the Roval. And Renee came in 1 lap before me, so I figured he'd run out of gas, but he did a heck of a job saving fuel there and brought himself the checkered flag, and that's a good run for him. So I'm happy he's moving up in the points, and I'm happy with the second place to jump Logan there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to start to close that championship points gap to him, and well, it's still pretty big. I mean, this will definitely help going forward. So, I asked Logan, but are there any major changes that you noticed between this track and well, the only major road course, like the only permanent road course we've run other than this one this season is Laguna Seca. So, was there any big differences you noticed in terms of difficulty or certain like driving style from Okayama to anything else we've run this year?
Well, there's definitely no blind corkscrew here, so that made for an easier time. Laguna Seca is a real hard track to get a hold of. It's a real fast track. This one doesn't have quite the same sensation of speed as WeatherTech Raceway does. So it was all about keeping it on the track for me. I wanted to get that 0x bonus, which we succeeded in doing. So that's 1 point on the same level as Logan because he got a 0x bonus too. So just all about minimizing the gaps there. And Renee was super fast all night. He got me on the first run, and he just maintained that gap perfectly at the end, and I had nothing for him.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, absolute props to both of you, Renee. This has got to be his greatest race of the season so far. I mean, he ran quick in our All Star race, but I mean, so did you. And maybe we'll quickly throw it to you because you did win our All Star race that hopefully many people in the broadcast caught because it wasn't the wrong channel. But so you said Michigan in the NASCAR Xfinity Karts, the legacy cars we ran for the All Star race. So just tell the fans why your decision behind picking it and what kind of racing you expect for our 10th race of the season.
Yeah, Michigan's the first racetrack that I've ever been to outside of Canada. First place I traveled to, so it definitely has a special place in my heart there. So I wanted to go down to Michigan. I love the Xfinity cars. A lot of experience in those. They have a lot of tire wear, so it'll all be about tire management, keeping that right front under you for the whole run. Michigan's a track that produces a lot of side-by-side racing, lots of space on the straightaways and in the corners in case you slide or whatever to catch the car. So I think it'll be a good track. The setup is pretty similar to what we ran at the All-Star race. So a lot of the guys that are relatively new to NASCAR, they'll have a good 200 miles of experience going into that race. So hopefully it'll put on a good show for the fans. That's what I was thinking about in selecting that. And looking forward to going there and seeing if we can put that silver bullet paint scheme back in victory lane again.
As am I, and I think if your oval talent there from the All Star race is able to carry over into the final round, well, that double points rule could work out very well for you there, Michael. So, Is there anybody you want to thank out, or I'm sure you got sponsors to give a shout out to before we head off the air?
Oh yeah, got to thank Devin Crosby for calling that strategy perfect because I was tempted to pit there, and he told me to stay out. So shout out to him and Josh as well from Loud Pedal Motorsports. All their sponsors: HPP Simulation, Clipping That Apex, Thumbs Up Cancer Down, Spotlight, Sam's Oil by Adam Blattel, CJ Automotive, Ready to Frag, Fleximation Systems, Host Venom, Sim Racing Apps, and the Karts to Computers Racing League for putting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great midpoint of our season. It was a great way to end the first half and go on to our second half. And yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to Michigan. I mean, I certainly am. I think it'll be a very solid race, and looking forward to Spa on Saturday. Hopefully, you compete just as well there as it is another dedicated road course. I know a lot of guys are putting in a lot of laps there, so I'm looking forward to it, Michael. And hope this isn't the last time I talk to you again in the next few races. And the way you're getting podiums, I doubt it will be. So congrats, Michael.
Thanks, Marshall.
Okay, and as we finish up with our... Oh, actually, sorry, I was under the impression we may not be able to interview our race winner, but we will indeed. So let me just set up our final interview of the night here. Let's get Renee Hart displayed up there. There we go. And let's get Renee Hart in the room. Hey, Renee, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, but I'd imagine not quite as well as you're feeling right now. That was a wow, that was a masterful performance, really, if I've ever seen one. I mean, you've kind of been picking up the momentum race by race the last few here, and you ran very solid in the All-Star race, top 5 position. Can't complain with that. And I mean, we came to the road course, and right when it looked like it was kind of a foregone conclusion that Logan was going to get his third win in a row, man, you came back out of nowhere and pulled it off. I mean, how did you manage to get the fuel strategy there? I mean, you must have been fuel saving based on your strategy. Just kind of what was going through your head the last few laps, and what was your fuel saving strategy at the end of the race?
Uh, well, I knew Logan pitted before me, and so I knew, like, I was looking at my gas meter thing there, and it was saying that I was pretty much even with the end of the race. So I knew Logan was going to have to pit, and that's what I was hoping for, and he did. And then I knew I had about a 5-second gap at one point from Michael. So the last couple laps, I just half throttled it, and that was about it. I won the race.
Well, you did indeed, and congratulations for that very thing, your first win of the season. And I mean, I've asked it to the other two, but compared to, say, Laguna Seca or any of the other partial road courses we've run this year, like the Roval, how did you feel that the track layout tonight kind of affected your race strategy? And what would you say is the most difficult part of this track, at least here at Okayama tonight?
That's a good question, and I don't even have a clue. I was just hoping to stay on the track and hit my marks. And
Man, it just feels like every week there's just one guy that feels like they're super unconfident going into the race. I mean, it was Sam for the Indy this year. It was his first time running an oval, and he like came away with a third. And now we're seeing guys all season coming away with surprise performances. So, man, Renee, I mean, you hit your marks. You certainly did. And again, one of the greatest fuel saving performances I've ever seen. So, congrats to you on that. But as we look forward to Saturday, our second dedicated road course in a row as we head to Spa-Francorchamps. So, how are you feeling for that? I mean, I know a lot of guys have been putting in a lot of extra practice time, and everybody's really excited for it. So, how are you feeling for round 6 of the series?
you know what? I have no idea because I don't think I own that track. That's not a free one, right?
It is not, no.
And I haven't been on it, so we'll see.
Well, I mean, maybe that exact level of confidence is what it takes to win, because it's what happened tonight. So, is there anybody you want to give a quick shout out to, or anybody you want to say thank you to before we head off the air?
I want to thank Logan for taking that extra pit stop and letting me have the win.
Well, that is definitely the most concise and the best thank you session that I've certainly had in one of these interviews. So, well, I'm sure Logan will be back out there next week. He always seems to be. So, running quick every week. But man, your momentum just race after race is picking up. This will probably put you top 6, maybe even top 5 in the standings. So, well, congrats, Renee. Congrats on coming away with the win, and have a good rest of your night. And we will see you on Saturday for our race at Spa.
All right. Thank you very much. See you Saturday.
Me too. Me too, honestly.
Oh, put myself in the wrong chat there. My bad. Okay. Well, as we come out of round 5 of the Karts to Computers Iverson series, I can just pull down our interview graphic. There we go. There we go. So, Well, as we head out tonight for the halfway point of the Carts to Computers Iverson series first season, I do call it that because we do have a second season coming up. The broadcast ran a little bit longer than I thought, and unfortunately, we won't quite have time to run through everything on season 2 that I didn't get to mention. But everything I mentioned before still stands. So we figured out my Instagram handle in the YouTube chat. So anybody watching who wants to maybe join the series, who does normally kart in their free time, but unfortunately isn't able to, or maybe anybody that knows some of these drivers through the track, well, feel free to shoot me a message. Feel free to come join, and hopefully we can make you a permanent staple of season 2 because we're trying to get a more expanded field. When it comes to tonight's finish, just congratulations to Renee Hart, our third different winner this season and his first of the year. So well, congrats to him. Michael Krobach coming away with another podium, and Paxa with his 5th straight podium. Well, it's slightly, I think, diminish his points lead, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket at this point because man, he has just had a very all around, very good year. So, well, props to Mr. Paxa, and as we head out here, let's just give a brief thank you to the fans or um, all our viewers on the YouTube side. I mean, thank you to everybody for coming out, and thank you for everybody that watched the All Star race on Saturday, even if it was on the wrong channel. Those of you that found your way there, and for anybody who wants to go back and watch it, they may have heard about it. I know I spoiled the winner, but I think it was a really fun race, and it was an interesting way for those of you that don't normally watch iRacing to see like an in cockpit view of the entire race, where I got to run my first and only race of the season. So if you want on board with me for what was probably our most interesting oval race of the season, yeah, feel free to check the playlist tab on the YouTube channel. It was posted on my channel, but it is under the playlist. I just threw it in there. So that's there if you want. It's just called All Star Race. You'll see it at the bottom of the of that playlist, at least until now, where this one will head in. But yeah, so thank you to everybody for watching. It was a great time, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to check the chat at the end because well, some technical difficulties earlier, and then I had to find Renee for the interview. But well, absolutely. Thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed tonight's race and definitely the most surprise finish I think we've had all year. So as we head into Spa, again, knowing how much guys are excited for that, I think it'll be a great race and I'm looking forward to it. So have a good rest of your night, everybody. Feel free to enjoy the generic stock rock music coming out of the outro. I think I updated the information. So just a quick thing to mention. I'll have to mention it to the drivers after the race, but our Saturday race will start at 7:30, just like today's race, rather than 8 o'clock. So I know traditionally the Saturday races are later and the Thursday races earlier. But even if I didn't remember to update the graphic, which I think I did, Saturday's race will start at 7:30 p.m. The broadcast may actually start a few minutes early, just so I have time to get all my pre-race stuff in. But yeah, because it's a longer track, so the track lap will take a little longer, and I'm just really excited for Spa in general. So thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully we see all you out for Saturday's race for round 6 of the Karts to Computers Iverson series, and have a good night, everybody.